Hey everyone, good morning everyone. Nice to see you guys here. I hope you're all doing well. And today we are finally back on the DC-3 around the world trip. Man, it really has been a long time. The last time I streamed this was all the way back in May 21st. So it's been since May 21st since we last streamed, over almost 3 weeks since I last streamed on Microsoft Flight Sim. It's pretty crazy to think about. It's been nearly 3 weeks. It's pretty crazy. I hope everyone's doing well. And today we are back on leg 32 of our trip. We're here back in Cold Bay, Alaska, where we await to return back from my vacation. And today we got a bit of a somewhat of a shorter flight, about 540 nautical miles, and we're heading our way over from Cold Bay, Alaska to Anchorage, the largest city in all of Alaska. And this one should be a pretty scenic trip, just like the Aleutian Islands one. So let's rumble in the chat and say hello to Super Typhon. Great to see you. So here's our plan for today. Here's today's flight plan. That's So we'll take off here from Cold Bay. We'll be flying around 8,000, 9,000 feet today, so we can clear much of the terrain. Fly over a lot of the national parks and reserves and game ranges, over across to the Cook Inlet, and make our way over to Anchorage, Alaska at Ted Stevens International, which is right next to Lake Hood, which you don't know, that lake is one of the busiest seaplane ports in the world. So definitely going to be, it's basically going to be in a straight line, which is going to be perfectly fine by me. Which is perfectly fine by me as well. So we're going to go ahead and back. So let's get back to our DC-3. We haven't flown this bird in so long. It's been a long time since I've flown the DC-3, but man, it's great to be back in this bird for sure. She's an absolute beauty of a plane. It's great to see that the DC-3 is back in our library, and she's ready to get going for us all. So let's talk about the slideshow for a bit. So let's talk about the notes for today's flight. Today is June 7th, 2017. Let me. What? So the team so they spent a good night in Cold Bay, Alaska. Woke back up, went to the local flight station to file the flight to Anchorage. The weather looked pretty good. All went out to get aircraft ready for a good flight along the Aleutian Islands to Cold Bay. And they made their way over from Cold Bay to Anchorage. They taxi over to the executive terminal in Anchorage, and they meet the passengers that are taken from Anchorage to Seattle. So a pretty easy one as well. So everything looks pretty smooth and looks pretty ready to go. So let's see if I remember how to start the DC. Fuel situation, I'm going to go ahead and put the max fuel. I'm going to lower the on. Magneto's on. Left main, right main. Powers max. We turn on the engine primers. Engine primer on. Booster pumps on. So we got that. Finish the right engine. Let's see if everything's working. Okay, she sounds okay. That engine looks good. Find the left engine. And she's gonna look good. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, both engines look pretty good. So if you guys want to join in, I'm on the Southeast Asian server. And we're at Papa Alpha Charlie Delta. We're here in... So we're going to climb to 18,000 feet. I'm going to set the gyro pilot to 36 degrees. Desired heading. Okay. And I can't believe this. We're back in the DC-3 again. Been a while. But yeah, today's section of the slides are going to be talking about Alaskan history, so you guys will learn all about Alaska today. A state I've actually been to in real life. I'll be heading back there next year. So this should be a fun one. And we are off. So we're going to pick up some speed. 80 knots. And we're finally back up. So, but yeah, it's great to be back in this bird again for the first time in a while. Go ahead, circle around the airfield and use that to pick up some altitude. There we go. Okay, this part of Alaska looks very stunning, and now we're going to head to Anchorage. Yeah, it's excellent seeing you guys here as always, and I do appreciate being back in this DC-3. It has been a little too long since I've last been in this beautiful bird. Such an icon as well. If you're here for the first time, we started this journey back on New Year's Day from Geneva, Switzerland. We went all across Europe, the Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and East Asia, and crossed over into Alaska. So we definitely have quite the journey to go through for sure. Airfield. Go ahead and turn on the hold. And as we say goodbye to Cold Bay, Alaska for the last time on this journey. So. Yeah, I got my Alaska clothes on today because we are in Alaska for a bit. We're gonna spend quite a few legs in Alaska. Sure. So but I mean, what a beautiful day in Alaska. Absolutely stunning here today in Cold Bay. Hey, NZNZNA has followed. Good to see ya. Thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing well today. So we're doing leg 32 of our Breitling DC-3 journey today in Alaska. I've done this stream since New Year's Day this year. That's where I started my journey. We went from Geneva to Avignon to Athens. From Geneva, Avignon, Zagreb, Athens, Tel Aviv, Amman, Manama, Bahrain, Doha, Qatar, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Karachi, Pakistan, Nagpur, India, Chiang Mai, Thailand, Phuket, Thailand, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Singapore, Kota Kinabalu, Malaysia, Laoag, Philippines, Macau, Taipei, and then multiple cities in Japan, including Kagoshima, Kumamoto, Iwakuni, Sendai, Obihiro, Gemya Island, Alaska, Cold Bay, Alaska, and now today we're heading to Anchorage. So we had a long journey so far, and we still have plenty left to go. We still have to reach the continental United States, like Seattle, Aurora, Oregon, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and all that. And then we still have to also cross back into Europe from the North Atlantic, for Greenland and Iceland. So we still got a long way to go in this DC-3, but like I said, it's great to be here as well. And you're all more than welcome to fly along with me. I'm on Southeast Asia server. So yeah. Basically, you're all more than welcome. Just take something that can keep up with the DC-3. So, there's all sorts of planes in the sim. Where are you flying over now? Good to see you, Gambit. We are flying over Alaska today. We just took off from Cold Bay, Papa Alpha Charlie Delta. I'm on the Southeast Asia server, but yeah, we just took off from Cold Bay, which is back down here. But we're flying to Anchorage. There's quite a few airfields around here you could join me from if you want to. Outside of Cold Bay, I know there's Sand Point to the northeast. And then, of course, we'll also be flying near Nelson Lagoon. So there's that as well to join me up. There's plenty of airports around this journey to join me from. But welcome on in, Gambit. I hope you're doing well. Hope your Sunday's going great. So, in terms of Microsoft stuff, I do want to talk about. So some pretty big news just came out over the past couple days since I last streamed. Obviously, I saw that High Performance Groups is actually bringing a 747 firefighting plane into the sim. So yeah, a 747 super tanker, which is going to come on this upcoming Friday, June 16th. Which this bad boy can carry up to 19,000 gallons of fire retardant or water. Which is absolutely crazy. It's a crazy plane. It's going to come for $20 US. But I definitely think it's very interesting for a lot of real-life applications. For sure. Let's see other news. DC Design said the F4 Phantom is nearly complete. Ooh, the F4 Phantom. I actually know someone who was a pilot of an F4 Phantom back in high school. He was my ROTC instructor. One of my instructors, and he flew these F4 Phantoms. Definitely very interesting planes as well. And they also, in DC Designs, also reveals their C5 Galaxy, which looks pretty cool as well. The Galaxy is definitely a plane I'm interested in as well. And here's a fun fact about the C5 Galaxy. The C5 Galaxy was actually, if you guys didn't know, was actually a rival to the B-40, the 747. And you say, wait, what do you mean it was a rival to this Boeing 747? You see, the 747 and the C5 competed for a military contract for a proposal back in the 1960s. And the 747 and that had to compete with each other. Ultimately, it was the C5 that got the military contract. And what Boeing did, eventually built the jumbo jet. So, pretty interesting stuff about aviation history. I'm going to lower the pitch a little. Lower the pitch, so. But yeah, the C5 Galaxy has a rich and long history. It's still in service for the United States, and it's, I mean, this thing carries a lot of cargo. I mean, this thing could carry a lot of cargo. I mean, this thing could, without cargo, this thing can go over 7,000 nautical miles, but with 120,000 pound load, it can go to 4,800 nautical miles. Insane. So, pretty insane plane, but yeah, the C5, definitely very cool. But there are two pretty big news, and Two-Tone Murphy's actually going to do it. Oh yeah, Super Typhon. I was just getting to that, actually. I was just getting to that. Yeah, on June 14th, which is going to be Thursday, I believe. Flying Iron's coming out with their newest plane, the first Axis fighter from their library, the Messerschmitt Bf-109. And I know if you guys are not aware of your World War II aviation history, the Messerschmitt 109 was absolutely the most iconic German airplane in the entire war. That was produced originally by Messerschmitt back in first flew in 1935, but it became one of the great planes of the war. It served so many different functions. Even though it was conceived as an interceptor, it could do all sorts of tasks, from bomber escort to become a fighter bomber, to a day-night and all-weather fighter, ground attack, and even aerial reconnaissance. And they produced 34,000 of these things. 34,000 of them! Which, I mean, it is the most produced fighter aircraft in history. And the funny thing is, these planes lasted all the way to the 1960s, when the Spaniards retired them. There are so many variants of this thing, it's not even funny, and they can do nearly anything. So, it is great to finally see this plane in the assembly. I mean, the 109 is definitely a plane I'm very interested in, for sure. And Merck's going to be showing off on one of his streams as well. It looks awesome. And then finally, FS Reborn, the guys who made Sting S4, worked on a brand new turboprop plane, the Piper M500. The M500's finally reached beta. And Merck's going to show it off on Wednesday, on June 14th, and he's going to show off the latest version as well. And this plane looks really, really cool, with rich visual and presentations. And I'm definitely very interested in this, because this is going to be released in a similar point to the SWS PC-12. So it should be very, very interesting to see how the folks at FS Reborn can get it done. But I think they could definitely do it. I'm going to go ahead and shift this to auto lean. At this point, we're going to lean out the plane a little bit. So yeah, that is going to be the news here for today. We have definitely quite a bit of news as well. Yeah, very, very excited for the ME-109 and the Piper M500. Those are definitely going to be really cool planes to have in your library for sure. So yeah, that is going to be some of the MSFS news. But yeah, I mean, look at that. That looks absolutely stunning here in Alaska. You wonder why I like flying over the state a lot. It's just, it is so. Yeah. So we'll get ready to get going soon. I'm just gonna have to trim out this plane. So we're just flying through much of Alaska right now. Let's take a look at the scenery out here. This part of Alaska. And it's definitely stunning. Absolutely beautiful today. This part of Alaska. A little bit later on, I will be talking more about Alaska's history a bit later in the flight. So if you're interested in learning all about Alaska, do stick around. I have slideshows for that. I just want to enjoy this time here to take a look and enjoy the sky. So the ETA for our flight is about just over 3 hours of flight time here for this trip. Assuming we go around 170 knots, we'll be in the air for about 3 hours. So this should be a 3-hour trip in this DC-3. So yeah, I hope everyone's having a good week in the chat. both the chat and the lurkers. I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend right now. I just got some bit more flying done yesterday. I did some time practicing with the Transall since I will be taking it on Wednesday. Good to see you, Ian Fisher. I hope you're doing well. And Coastal Royalty as well. Great to have you here as well. I hope you guys are doing very, very well. So yeah, we're finally back on the DC-3 stuff. It's great to be back in this plane for this around the world trip. It's very good to be back. Oh, we'll be flying through from Cold Bay to Anchorage today. It should be a pretty nice, stunning trip as well. We'll be flying through a couple of many different wildlife preserves and refuges. We should definitely get some absolutely beautiful terrain here as well. Should be very, very exciting areas as well. So, we're cruising at around 167 knots today, right now. We'll get through this pretty good. So we will be talking about Alaska today. So let's go ahead and get some slides ready for Alaska history. Alaska. What do you guys want to know about it? Well, this is actually the northernmost state in the United States. It borders British Columbia and Yukon in Canada to the east, and a western maritime border with Russia, actually. Now, one of the cool things Alaska is known for is it is the largest state in the United States by total land area. In fact, Alaska is so big, you can actually fit the states of Texas, California, and Montana into Alaska, as it actually has more area than those three states put together. It is the 7th largest subnational division in the world. The only ones that are bigger in terms of area are Sakha, which is Yatsuk in Russia, Sakha in Russia, Western Australia in Australia, Krasnoyarsk Krai in Russia, Greenland, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, Nunavut in Canada, and Queensland also on Australia. So that is pretty big. Alaska is pretty massive, to say the least. But it's a very big subdivision. Now, for thousands of years, indigenous people have lived in Alaska and widely believed that it served as an entry point for initial settlement of North America. However, the people who first got to Alaska was the Russians, actually, funnily enough. I think I said that before, but Russia got into it first. However, Alaska really grew thanks to its abundant natural resources, which means it has some of the highest per capita incomes in the country, with commercial fishing and natural gas and oil dominating the economy. Also, tourism plays a big role to its economy, as well as its natural ecotourism thanks to its national forest, parks, and wildlife refuges. So Alaska has a pretty cool history. Well, very rich in its own traditions. So Alaska's history starts back to the pre-European days. starts at the pre-colonization days, as numerous indigenous people have occupied Alaska for thousands of years. Linguistic and DNA studies done here provide evidence for the settlement of North America by the Bering Land Bridge. However, one of the first societies that developed here was the Tlingit people. They developed matrilineal kinship based on proper inheritance in southeast Alaska, along with parts of British Columbia and the Yukon. But there's also other groups of people. The Tsimshian people came to Alaska from British Columbia. As well as other people. And of course, the Aleutian Islands, which is still home to the Aleut people, which was a seafaring society as well, relied on the seas for much of their sustenance. So there's definitely all that. But the first Europeans to arrive were the Russians, actually. Back in the 17th century, when several people, as part of an expedition from Semyon Dzhizhenov, came ashore in Alaska by storm, found a settlement. But the first European vessel to be generally held to make their way to Alaska was St. Gabriel, under the authority of surveyor M.S. Gvozdev and assistant navigator Ivan Fedorov in 1732 during an expedition. And then a later one in 1741 led by Vitus Bering, which is what the namesake of the Bering Sea is. During his expedition across the ship St. Peter. And some of the fur you found in Alaska was very popular, and fur traders actually came to Alaska from Russia. And the first permanent European settlement in Alaska was found in 1784. Now, interestingly enough, the Spanish tried to actually gain expeditions to Alaska, but unfortunately for the Spaniards, Russia kept control of as well. Then later on, the Russian-American Company in the 19th century carried an expanded colonization program, and one of those places was Sitka, and that was the capital of Russian Alaska, and it was that way from 1804 to 1867, and it remained the capital until it was eventually transferred to the United States. And that happened in 1867 when William H. Seward, who was the 24th U.S. Secretary of State, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, he negotiated the Alaska Purchase and bought it from the Russians for $7.2 million US dollars. And the purchase was made on March 30th, 1867. A lot of people once called the Alaska Purchase Seward's Folly. Well, it turned out it wasn't actually the case. And that was not until the case of, well, the gold rush that happened. The Klondike Gold Rush happened in the 1890s, when they discovered gold. Once they discovered lots of gold in the area, all sorts of people made their way up to Alaska. And eventually, it made Alaska really important. And it continued to be even more important once we get later into the 20th century, when they discovered yet another natural resource of Alaska: oil. But with gold rushes, thousands of miner settlers went to Alaska and became an organized territory of the U.S. in 1912. And in 1906, Alaska's capital was moved to Juneau from Sitka. Now, during World War II, the Aleutian Islands campaign happened on the islands of Attu, Agatu, and Kiska when they were occupied by the Japanese. In fact, they were the only parts of the U.S. that were occupied by the Japanese during World War II in the mainland U.S. Also, several areas of Alaska have been major bases. Mainly Dutch Harbor and Adak became major bases for the U.S. military. And Alaska was a key player in the U.S. Lend-Lease program when they transferred all sorts of American warplanes to the Soviet Union during the war to fight against the Germans. And all that led to the growth of Alaska as a state. Then, during the 1950s and late 50s, Alaska finally gained the push for statehood, and Alaska was proclaimed the U.S. state on January 3rd, 1959, which became the 49th state in the Union. Then Alaska gained even more so when they discovered oil all around Alaska. When they discovered rich oil fields at Prudhoe Bay and the completion in 1977 of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System led to an oil boom all across Alaska. And royalty revenues from oil have funded large state budgets that are still going on today. And with tourism being more important to the economy, environmentalism also rose in importance, leading to millions of acres of land added to the wildlife refuge systems. And of course, in 1989, the Exxon Valdez hit a reef in the Prince William Sound, spilling more than 11 million gallons of crude oil over 1,100 nautical miles of the coastline. And it still led to a lot of issues between environmentalism and the oil. So that is a bit about Alaska's history. So yeah, some interesting stuff to learn about Alaska today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a history lesson from yours truly, as we talk a little bit about Alaska. So, pretty cool stuff. So yeah, I've been to Alaska myself. If you guys never been this, let me show you. The part of Alaska I went to in real life, was this part of Alaska, known as the Inside Passage. So we went through Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway. So that's the part of Alaska I visited. And next year, I'll not only visit those 3 places, but I'll also be checking out Icy Strait Point. I'll check out Glacier Bay. I'll be visiting there. I'll go up to Valdez, which is right up here, Valdez, Alaska. And I will even visit Seward, Alaska, which is just right outside of Anchorage, which is just about over an hour or so away from Anchorage, Alaska. But yeah, I'll be visiting quite a bit. And of course, there's Sitka, Alaska. There's Sitka. But yeah, that's the part of Alaska I've been to in real life. Definitely, Alaska is a beautiful state, and I would love to visit the interior of Alaska. I don't think we'll be visiting the interior much on this trip, though I will be doing some sort of stream to fly into the interior, into Denali National Park and all that, which would be absolutely stunning as well. And maybe even fly near Denali. So that would be, if you guys want me to do this idea, let me know. I'll definitely get to do it. I'd be more than happy to get on with that idea as well. So that's just basically some bit of the news. That's just some bit of information. So we'll continue on with this trip. We just passed Nelson Landing. Take a look outside. See. absolutely beautiful today here in this part of Alaska. Absolutely stunning. So, so right now we are around just about 454 nautical miles away from our destination here today. So we're doing pretty well as always. We're just um about over almost 100 miles right now on this flight. So I do want to talk about other stuff going on as well. So I'm going to talk about some bit of sports. So at least relevant for me. Though it did hurt, Manchester City won the Premier League um, yesterday. So Manchester City is your new champions of the. Um, they won. In fact, Manchester United has won the UEFA Champions League. They won that. So they won the... Congratulations to them. So not only they won the Premier League, but they now also won the UEFA Champions League for the first time. There's that as well. So congrats to Manchester. So, but baseball things, it's been a while since I talked about the baseball standings, and there has been a lot of stuff going on. So, for standings at least, for the American League, the Tampa Bay Rays are still dominant. They're still 47-20. They still have the best record in the league right now, which is not surprising. They've been absolutely dominant this season. But I mean, the entire AL East, except for Boston, is above 500. The Orioles still won 3 in a row, and they're still going to probably make the postseason. The Yankees and Blue Jays are decent this year. They're above 500. It's just the AL East is so stacked this season. In the American League Central, only the Twins are above 500. Every other team's below 500. With the next closest team being Cleveland. Then the rest are below 500, with the Royals being among the worst teams in baseball. They might be just as bad as the Athletics have been this season. And then for the American League West, the Texas Rangers are the second best team, but the second best record in baseball is actually the Rangers following up this season. They've been very good this year. Then with the Houston Astros, then we have the Astros next, which 37-28. The Angels are playing pretty good as well. The Mariners are playing just 500 ball. But the Oakland Athletics have been absolutely horrible this season. 16-50. They have the worst record in the league. They've been terrible. Though they have won 4 in a row, however, so... But they're still terrible. Then we get to the National League. The best record in the NL is the Braves. But the Marlins are sneaking their way to become a pretty important wildcard contender this year, has been the Fish. The Marlins have been pretty good this season. The Phillies and Mets are just barely above 500, below 500. They can still make a push, and the Nationals have been pretty bad. In the NL Central, it's been basically neck to neck between the Pirates and the Brewers. So the Brewers lost 3 in a row. Then the Reds are just 4 games out of first. The Cardinals are doing unexpectedly pretty bad this year. Not unexpected for the team. Usually the Cardinals are pretty good. Then the NL West, a team I was still surprised to see up number 1 is the Diamondbacks. They're still the number 1 team in that division. They're on a 4-game win streak. But yeah, no one's ever expecting the Diamondbacks to be this good this year, but they got a lot of great contributors this year that really helped them take the next level. But the Dodgers are still well within it. They're still only 2.5 games back. Giants are 500. The Padres are inconsistent this year, and then the Rockies are among the worst teams in the National. So there's that. But yeah, very, very interesting stuff going on for the standings for Major League Baseball. The All-Star Game is going to be coming next month. It's going to be the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, so some people are going to get ready for some of their votes. Oh, we have All-Star voting coming up soon. I'm gonna go ahead and vote for the ballots. So, for the All-Star game this year. So for first baseman for the American League, I'm gonna vote in Yandy Diaz, who's having an amazing year this year. Yandy Diaz, he's one of the favorites to take home MVP this season. Yandy Diaz has been absolutely insane this year. 309, 12 home runs, 34 RBIs. So far, having the best season of any first baseman in the American League. By far the best year. I mean, the other player that I think is the closest is Vladimir Jr., but I mean, Diaz is having exceptional. In the National League, my pick for the National League is definitely Freddie Freeman. I mean, Freddie Freeman has been on fire this season. He's been absolutely insane. 336, 12 home runs, 43 ribbies. He's already off to an insane season. So I have to pick Freddie Freeman. Second base, my pick, as much as like Brandon Lau, I don't think he's having that great of a season. I'm gonna give it to a player who's actually having a great year, and that is Marcus Semien. Semien's played really, really well this year at second. He's having the best all-around year of the league. National League, I'm going with... Ooh, that's a tough one. But I'm going with the player who's all-around got a great year, and he's helped his team. And I'm going to go with Luis Arias. I mean, come on. The dude's batting .402. 30 RBIs. I mean, yeah, he only has one homer, but he's batting .402. If you guys aren't aware, the last hitter to bat 400 was Tim Williams back in 1941. Third baseman, I have to go with a bit of a homer pick, but I gotta go Isaac Paredes. He's having an awesome season. I mean, Paredes has been a big reason why the Rays have been very good this season. I almost did consider Rafael Devers, but I think Paredes is just having a better year. And then National League, I'm going with... I guess I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado, who's had a bit of a bright spot this year. Is Arenado? He's still elite. I'm going to go with Arenado. For shortstop, I'm definitely picking Wander Franco for this one. I mean, Bo Bichette's having a insane year. Well, I mean, as a Rays fan, I like to see Wander Franco. Franco's having an awesome year this year. But, I mean, Corey Seager and Bo Bichette are playing awesome as well. But I'm going to go with my ballot. So I'm going to go with Bo Bichette. The National League, I'm going with... I'm going to go with... There is not great. I'm going to pick Orlando Arcia. Catcher... No, unfortunately not Christian Betancourt. But... I'm going to go with good old Salvador Perez for the catcher for the American League. Is Salvador Perez. Can't go wrong when someone has been as consistent as Salvi has been for so long. For catcher of the National League, I'm going to go with the very capable Sean Murphy, who's been great all year at catcher. Finally, for the outfield, I'm going to pick my three players. First one, easy. One of the favorites to take home the MVP this season, Randy Arozarena for the American League. I'm definitely picking Randy Arozarena. He's been awesome. Then for my second pick, I gotta pick Aaron Judge. Judge has been... He's already doing crazy things right now in New York. And my last pick for the final player in this outfield. And I'm gonna probably go with. Oh, this is gonna be tough. Because I mean, there's Mike Trout, who is Mike Trout thing. He's been consistent for years. But I'm gonna go with the absolutely crazy potential. And it's tough. I could pick Josh Lau if I wanted to. Lau's having a great season as well. But I'm going to put Adolis Garcia. He's been superb. He's the reason why the Rangers have the second best record in baseball. He's been a big reason for that. Then in the National League, I'm definitely picking Mookie Betts. I'm going to pick Ronald Acuna. He's just been superb. I mean, Ronald Acuna has power. He has speed. He does everything. Acuna's been awesome. Then my next pick for the National League, I could pick TJ Freddy, but no, or Jake Fraley for the Reds. I don't think so. My next pick for the outfield for the National League is probably going to be. I could pick Juan Soto. Tatis has already been pretty good. I'm gonna actually probably pick a player who's playing extremely well this season. I'm gonna pick Corbin Carroll, who's been a big piece of helping the Diamondbacks be a really. Corbin Carroll's gonna be an all-star. And my last pick for the all-star is going to be another tough one. But I have to go with a player who's been playing really, really. It's probably going. But I'm going to go with Mookie Betts, who's just been all around good this. And then finally for designated hitter for the American League, this is a no-brainer. For the American League, it's no-brainer for who I pick as DH. Shohei Ohtani, he's a no-brainer. He pitches and hits. He literally does both. And then for the National League, I'm gonna go for the NL DH this season. I think this one is a pretty simple player. But if I want a DH, I want him to hit with power. I'm going to pick the incredibly good this season in JD Martinez. He's great. But yeah, that's my picks for my ballot. I think this is a pretty good ballot all around. Yeah, there's that. Okay, that is the all-star ballot I picked. Okay. Alright guys, that's it. So I just wanted to do some MLB voting for today. Got my ballot set up. So we're just about 407 nautical miles out from our final waypoint here. So I hope you're all doing well. So let's check outside. It's been a while since we checked out aircraft for a bit. But man, it's beautiful out here today. At this part of Alaska, it's just stunning. So yeah, we can definitely see a few more of the mountains to our right. We're getting near Port Hayden, Papa Alpha Papa Hotel. So we're not far from reaching there actually. We're getting through much of this through water today. But yeah, that's what we're doing right now. So, that's what we're going to be doing. And then in other sports as well, the NBA Finals is going on right now. The first seeded, number one overall seed Nuggets is going to be battling the 8th seed of the East. And so far, the Nuggets are just one game away from winning their first ever NBA title tomorrow. If the Nuggets win, in their first ever finals appearance, they win their first ever championship, which is pretty insane. But I mean, the NBA playoffs have been absolutely insane this season. I mean, no one expected the Miami Heat of all teams to make it to the finals as an 8 seed, nonetheless. I mean, Jimmy Butler's been amazing all playoffs, but it looks like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, well, might just be a bit too much for the Heat to handle, for sure. And then the Stanley Cup Finals are going on as well for the ice hockey fans of the world. Between Vegas and another 8 seed. Yes, Florida. I don't know what's with Miami and 8 seeded teams making the league finals. But yeah. But unfortunately for the Panthers, they're down 3-1 against the Vegas Golden Knights. If Vegas can take care of business in Game 5, the Vegas Golden Knights would win their first ever Stanley Cup, which is pretty crazy to think about. People don't realize the Vegas Golden Knights are a very, very young franchise. I mean, they've only been in the league since 2017, and they already made the finals twice. They already made the Stanley Cups in they already made 2 Stanley Cup finals, and during their first 4 seasons, they actually made the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is pretty insane. They are really well ran as well. And one more game, the Knights win their first Stanley Cup, which is just very insanely impressive. Like, no one expected the Knights to do much of anything, except the Knights have been very, very good throughout their existence. So yeah, very, very impressive. Pretty cool stuff. And also the Golden Knights are also Las Vegas's original professional sports team. Or shall I say, their original Major League sports team. Oh, pretty cool stuff. Talk about for sure. So yeah, let's get back to our streaming thing as well. So I think in a little bit I'll get back to the Alaska history sort of stuff. Back in. So we'll get ready to do that pretty shortly. Let's talk about our slideshow, man. Get ready to do that. This is Alaska's geography. If it's one thing about Alaska, well, it occupies the northwest portion of the North American continent, bordered by British Columbia, the east. An interesting fact about Alaska, a lot of people don't know this, is that Alaska actually has the most ocean coastline than any other U.S. state put together. And also because it extends way into the eastern hemisphere, it's technically both the westernmost and easternmost state of the United States, and the northernmost as well. Also, Alaska is the only non-contiguous state in continental North America. As well. In terms of land area, Alaska is the largest state in the United States in land area, around 570,000 square miles, which is really, really large. It's nearly 2.5 times larger than Texas, and it's the third largest subdivision in the world, and the third largest subdivision in North America behind Greenland and Nunavut. So it's a very, very large, very, very large state. And there's several different regions in Alaska to talk about. So in Alaska, there are multiple different regions of Alaska to mention. So let's go over the different regions of Alaska. The first is South Central Alaska. This is the southern part of the region. This is the southern coastal region, and most people in Alaska actually live in this area, mainly in the large city of Anchorage, but also many of the other growing towns. And it's the best connected region in the state, with not only the state's largest port in Anchorage, but also the international airport, Ted Stevens International, and the Alaska Railroad all connect through this area. And the area includes many different inlets, like the Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, and the Prince William Sound, are all different areas. And tourism, fisheries, and petroleum are major parts of this area of Alaska. Then we go to the Alaska Panhandle, known as Southeast Alaska. This is where most people actually visit Alaska on the cruise ships. They go through the southeast part of Alaska. It's bordered by British Columbia and a small part of the Yukon Territory. And the majority of the area is actually part of a national forest, the Tongass National Forest, which is the largest U.S. national forest at around 16.7 million acres. The region is well known for its beautiful scenery and its mild and rainy climate. And some of the towns you can find around here include Juneau, Sitka, and Ketchikan. But also the easternmost town of Alaska, Hyder, as well, is also located around here. And this area is around 35,000 square miles of land, with many different islands, passages, and all that, fjords. Pretty cool stuff. And the major industries include commercial fishing, tourism, logging, and mining, part of it. But yeah, pretty cool sort of stuff as well. So this part of Alaska is definitely where a lot of people mainly visit Alaska for tourism. Then we have Southwest Alaska, which Southwest Alaska, we're actually going through much of Southwest Alaska right now. This is the part of Alaska we're actually flying to right now. But this area is largely coastal, and is sparsely populated, but it's still very important for fishing, as half of all the fish caught in the western U.S. comes from the Bering Sea, including sockeye salmon as well. But it also includes multiple national parks and wildlife refuges as well, home to animals like salmon, brown bear, caribou, and marine mammals. Make their home here in Southwest Alaska. So, very, very important area as well. Then we have the interior of Alaska. This is the Alaskan interior. Is home to the city of Fairbanks, which is actually one of Alaska's larger cities. And Fairbanks is actually Alaska's second largest city after Anchorage, but it's home to wilderness, and of course it's famous for the mountain Denali, which is the highest mountain peak in all of North America, as well as the Wrangell and Ray mountain range. And other places besides Anchorage include North Pole, Alaska, Eagle, Delta Junction, and Healy. And finally, the last major region of Alaska is the Alaskan Bush region. And the bush is basically that. And basically that is much more remote, less crowded part of the state, home to 380 different native villages in small towns like Nome, Bethel, Kotzebue, and most famously, Barrow, which is now currently named Utikagivik. Utikagivik. Yeah, which is the northernmost town in all of Alaska and the northernmost town in the U.S. So there's all sorts of different regions home to about some of the different geographic regions of all of Alaska. Pretty cool. And then when we talk about Alaska climate, Alaska also has a very, very varied climate. When a lot of people think of Alaska, people think of Alaska as this cold place, and don't get me wrong, Alaska can get very cold. But in fact, Alaska's climate is actually much more varied than this. For example, if you visit a lot of Southeast Alaska, it actually gets a lot of rain and it's quite rainy. But once you move into the interior of Alaska, it will definitely get to subarctic and tundra conditions, especially further up north. But surprisingly, if you go to like Anchorage and all that, it actually gets surprisingly pretty warm in the summertime and all. Basically, Alaska's got quite a bit of versatile climate as well. And it depends on which region of Alaska you've been to. And some of the data is pretty interesting. For example, when you go to Anchorage during the summertime, it's around 65 degrees. And in January, it gets to be around 22 degrees Fahrenheit. But when you go to a different part of Alaska, let's say you want to go to Ketchikan, Alaska, it's actually just as hot as it is in Anchorage in July, but in the wintertime, it actually stays above freezing for the most, just barely above freezing for the most part, compared to Anchorage. But when you go further north, let's say you want to visit Utikagivik, or Barrow as it's called. It's like 47 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer, or 8 degrees Celsius. But once you get into January, the average temperature drops to -7 degrees Fahrenheit, or -21 degrees Celsius. It's cold in that part of Alaska. But actually, the coldest place, and here's one of the most unique temperature variants, is when you get to Fort Yukon, is the weirdest temperatures. Fort Yukon's a weird case when you talk about temperatures. Fort Yukon's right in the center of Alaska. And here's some interesting data. Average-wise, during the summer, Fort Yukon could reach up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 73 degrees Fahrenheit in Alaska. And then once you get to the interior in the wintertime, the average temperature for January is around -11 degrees Fahrenheit, minimum a maximum, and the minimum average is -27 degrees Fahrenheit. So basically, if you live in the coast, the climate's not so bad if you live around the coast. When you get to the interior, it can get really cold or really hot. For that, it's not hot like hot temperature-wise, but compared to much of other parts of Alaska. If you guys can probably get that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Alaska is a very varied climate. There is that. So, yeah, that's just a little bit about the geography and climate of Alaska. So, as you can definitely tell, Alaska geographically is a very, very varied place. So, yeah, that's just a little bit about the geography of the 49th state. So it's very, very diverse, and that's why a lot of people like visiting Alaska. It's got some beautiful scenery. So that's just a little bit about that. So in terms of other stuff going on right now, in terms of news, going on in the Flight Sim world. So not too far coming up is Flight Sim Expo. That's going to be about, it's actually going to be just this weekend is FS Expo, which is going to come out this weekend. So if you guys are ready to attend, actually no, not it's next weekend. It's actually not this upcoming weekend. It's June 23rd, 25th is the Flight Sim Expo. Unfortunately, I can't go in person, so I will be online watching FS Expo, but that's going to happen on the 23rd or 25th. Here is that as well. So let's take a look outside. As definitely a very pretty scenery as well. We get some bit more of a mountain range in this part of Alaska. So we're just about 350 nautical miles out. We should be getting here around 2 hours left to go for this flight. We're just about 2 hours left to go on this flight. Hope you're all enjoying a good time on this flight. So yeah, plans for next week. I've already figured out the plans. On Wednesday, we'll be doing a Firefly Air military mission in the C-160 Transall. We'll take advantage of FS Hub's ad hoc mission, and I'll let you guys know because these missions do pop up in and out of time. So I'll have to find some cargo operation stuff going on, and we'll be taking the Transall for that. So it should be a pretty cool one to do. So we'll be doing that as well. And then on Friday, we'll be back with another general aviation trip. We already visited the Dominican Republic and everything. For next Friday, we're gonna probably head back to the. I'm probably gonna say we'll probably do another general aviation flight. I think this time I haven't actually flown this area in a while. But I actually want to head over to, well, I want to head back to Greece, actually. But I want to head back to Greece and fly across, a bunch of the Greek islands, which should be quite a bit of fun. From Heraclion to Scipios as well. So we'll be flying across the Greek islands as well. So we'll be doing some, Greek island hopping for sure. That should definitely be quite a bit of fun to do on Friday as well. And of course, next Sunday is going to be the DC-3 again, leg 33 of our trip. We're going to go from Anchorage and make our way over to Juneau, Alaska. So we're going to be going to Juneau, guys. So it should definitely be a very, very good time for sure. Hey, good to see you, Complete Freedom. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Check out Complete Freedom's stream on Twitch. Good to see you, Complete Freedom. I hope you're doing well. We're heading our way over to Anchorage, Alaska. We took off from Colby a bit while ago, about nearly 200 nautical miles ago. So we should get here in about 2 hours of flight time. Just I hope you're doing well and having a great weekend. We're just turning around this part of Alaska. You're doing well? Nice. So Oh yeah, I love visiting Alaska too, Complete Freedom. Alaska's a beautiful state to visit. I visited the southeast part of Alaska on my trip last year in 2022, and I can't wait to go back to Alaska in 24. Visit the rest of southeast Alaska and even up to Seward. It's a beautiful state. Sitting here, primarily playing my rooftop FS Expo. Nice. Complete Freedom. That's awesome. In fact, I might do a FS Expo stream at some point. I'll be attending virtually. So maybe next Wednesday, not in 2 weeks, the Wednesday after next Wednesday would be, maybe I plan an FS Expo flight, maybe from Louisville to Houston. Because, like I said, I have to attend virtually, but I still want to actually do a flight to Houston, so I'll do Louisville to Houston. Which would be really, really cool. I'm planning on doing from Louisville International to Houston Hobby. Because it's the closest one to Ellington Airport. So it's the closest one to where FS Expo's been held. That would be great. I would be there, but if you could stream it that virtually, that would be great. Yeah, I wish I could stream it virtually. I don't know how that would work. I've never done anything like that. But yeah, I would love to attend virtual. But yeah, I'm planning on probably simulating a flight there virtually. So be like if I attended there. I'll be flying this 182 RG up to the event, and we'll probably take a few simmers up there. Awesome. Ooh, yes, the Cessna 182 retractable gear. That's a cool plane. I would like to have one of these in real life, Complete Freedom, but my autism just. But I don't think I can do anything like that. I wish. But that retractable gear 182, definitely a very cool plane as well. The 182 is a really, really neat. This is one of the planes in the flying club. That's really cool there, though. Very capable little plane, goes 160 cruise speed. It can actually have a pretty nice range. Apparently it says here you could climb to 18,000 feet. Payload. Very capable. Back where I'm from, I do actually have quite a few. I think there's about a flying club, around where I live, but they're mainly in Bowman Field in Louisville, which I have to go all the way to Bowman Field to find a flying club near where I live. Which is mainly either the Louisville Flying Club or the Aero Club of Louisville or Thoroughbred Flying Club. But basically, I do have flying clubs, but they're in Louisville, where I live. But yeah, planning to fly around 6,000 to 8,500 feet. Yeah, probably a good idea to have some space between you and the ground to fly safely. Because the last thing needed is for the event. Yeah, definitely a pretty safe idea. Just be careful, right? The last thing needed is something go wrong. So, by the way, Complete Freedom, so where are you going to be flying that Cessna 182 from, anyway? Because it is quite a bit of a flight to get from there to Houston. I'm curious. Because for me, at least, if I were to take a Cessna 172 from my home airport in southern Indiana and fly it over to Ellington, it would be around 704. It'd be around 6 hours in a 5-6 hours in a Cessna 172. So that's just my thing. It'd be taking a bit of a while for me to fly that sort of thing across from Indiana to Houston. Oh, KGBL or KRYY, about 5 and 6 hour flight. Ooh. Yeah, that's going to be a doozy of a flight for sure. KGBL. Oh, all the way in Georgia. Ah, got it. Yeah, that's a bit of a long flight for sure. But yeah, like I said, yeah, that's a bit of a longer flight. I don't know what kind of flight plan it is for a 172, but it'll be for a 182, but you have to probably fly around Atlanta for sure. It's not safe to be around Atlanta. So I think most likely if I do a flight plan, you probably want to fly around Atlanta for VFR purposes or IFR, but probably stay away from Atlanta. I will probably tell you that. Yeah, okay, you'll be flying under Atlanta Class B airspace. Gotcha. Oh, there's Kestrel. There you are, Kestrel, in the Strike Eagle. I see you there. Yeah, I need the hours anyway. I'll stop halfway. The P factor kicks in. Gotcha. Yeah, I still need more familiarity with flight stuff. Just looking at that. I'll have to do a couple videos coming up when I fly over Atlanta. Exactly. Yeah, definitely take the time to learn all this. Like I said, in the real world, what you learn in the sim can be part of the real world, but in the case of here, you definitely need some practice and some learning. That's like I want to be a real life pilot, and I definitely want to do one day be a pilot. But yeah, piloting, you definitely need to have a lot of learning to do all of it. I'm going to lurk mode for a while. Agreed, exactly. No worries about lurking. It was great. It was great talking to you, Complete Freedom, to learn all about this as well. But yeah, I can't wait to actually get to Flight Sim Expo virtually. Very, very excited. So let's check outside. I think we're finally back at inland. We have Castro 2567. He's with us right now. Good to see you. But yeah, we have finally. So. We're finally reached back a little bit inland, so you can see all the different little holes in the ground. The reason for all these little holes in the ground is because of the glaciers back thousands of years ago, when they pressed down onto the ground and all that. But as they receded, those holes eventually stayed, and they became where the water's at. So that's why the water in this part of Alaska, why the ground looks like that. So pretty interesting stuff when you take a look at all the scenery here in Alaska. So very, very important. So, speaking of this, let's go ahead and talk about the next part of our Alaska thing. Let's go with Alaska's economy, shall we? So, economically, Alaska is actually one of the highest GDP per capita of any of the United States. As of October 2022, Alaska has a total employment of 316,000 people. And its gross state product was around 55 billion, which is the 48th in the United States, it's the second smallest. However, it may be one of the smallest total, but if you're talking about per capita, it's actually $73,000 per capita, seventh in the nation, actually. And per capita, Alaska is the fifth largest number of millionaires per capita in the U.S., around 6%. And the main thing that dominates Alaska's economy has been oil and gas industry, which is around over 80% of the state's revenues. Its main exports include, outside of oil and gas, include seafood, which is salmon, cod, and pollock, as well. So definitely quite a bit of natural resources as well. But the big thing Alaska is known for is on its oil industry. After Alaska has vast amounts of oil and gas reserves can be found all over Alaska, but mainly the Alaska North Slope in the Cook Inlet basins. And as a result, according to the Energy Information Administration of the United States, Alaska is ranked fourth in crude oil production, as Prudhoe Bay, Alaska is the highest yielding oil field in the U.S., typically producing around 400,000 barrels of oil per day. Yeah, 400,000 barrels per day of oil. And it's also home to the Trans-Atlantic pipeline system, and this pipeline could come up to 2.1 million barrels of oil per day, more than any other in the United States. They also found lots of coal deposits found throughout the basins. Apparently, there's actually around 85.4 trillion cubic feet of undiscovered recoverable gas in Alaska. And it also features some of the highest hydroelectric power potential in the country thanks to its numerous rivers. So Alaska is really, really reliant on its energy sector. And of course, the agriculture and fishing. Due to its northern climate, Alaska, there's very little farming that really goes on in Alaska because of its northern climate and short growing season. Most farms are located just northeast of Alaska on the Matanuska Valley, or in the Kenai Peninsula, which is about 60 miles southwest of Anchorage. The short, hard-day growing season limits the crops that can be grown, but the long summer days can make it productive. And the main crops are mainly potatoes, carrots, lettuce, and cabbage. However, the big part about agriculture in Alaska is seafood. Alaska is very abundant in it, thanks to the fisheries in the Bering Sea and the North Pacific. And as a result, in Alaska, it's actually cheaper to buy seafood in Alaska than outside of seafood. So seafood in Alaska is actually cheaper in Alaska than it is in other parts of the United States. Obviously, its fishing would include salmon. Salmon's a big part of Alaska's fishing. But outside of that, there's also hunting for subsistence is still common for caribou, moose, and Dall sheep. Living out in the bush as well. But most food in Alaska actually has to be transported into the state through the other 49 states, known as the outside. And as a result, the shipping makes food in cities actually pretty expensive. So it's because Alaska's pretty remote as a result. And finally, the last part about Alaska, I know I did put a slide for this one, but it is actually going to be tourism. Because Alaska, believe it or not, outside of the energy industry, the largest private sector employer in Alaska is actually tourism, which is account for 1 in 8 Alaskan jobs. And nearly 2 million visitors visit Alaska. In fact, nearly half of all visitors that visit Alaska come from the cruise industry, actually, which includes Carnival Cruise Line, Celebrity, Crystal Cruises, Disney Cruise, Holland America, Princess, Royal Caribbean, and more. All make their homes here in Alaska, in the Alaskan Passage. There's also the international airport, Ted Stevens International, brings a lot of tourists in from the air. And tourism has been a big part of the general funds for Alaska. And a lot of visitors love visiting Alaska for its natural and vast landscape, wildlife, and culture. And as a result, many people visit Alaska for all the businesses like sightseeing tours, whale watching, glacier viewing, flight seeing, which I will be doing one of those when I get to Alaska, wildlife viewing, hiking, kayaking, and fishing. In fact, fishing alone counts for over $652 million in spending by non-residents. And of course, a top destination for tourism in Alaska is its national parks. Alaska's rich in that, and they visited by nearly 2.6 million people and contribute over $1.1 billion. So Alaska is a very, very important part when visiting Alaska. So yeah, that's a little bit about economy and tourism. So it shows that as well. So that was just a bit of really fun, interesting information about this part of Alaska. So. Hey, a raid from Sergeant Staff. Great to have you here, Sergeant Staff and Sergeant Staff viewers. Great to see you guys. Welcome on in, everyone. This is Viper Strike 95 Flight Simming, and today we're doing leg 32 of our DC-3 World Tour from Cold Bay, Alaska to Anchorage, which is Alaska's largest city. I hope you're doing well, Sergeant Staff, and all your viewers. Great to have you here. Here's a shout out to my awesome friend, Sergeant Staff 123. I hope you had a great stream today. I saw a little bit of your stream today, but I hope you're doing great as well, my friend. So, for all you guys here, I've been streaming this since 2021. I stream 3 times a week currently, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. On Wednesdays, I stream virtual airline flights. Fridays are my GA trips, and Sundays right now is our DC-3 around the world trip. From Valdez to Fairbanks, nice. I will be visiting Valdez next year, Sergeant Staff, on my Alaska cruise. We'll be visiting Valdez, Alaska. So we'll be visiting there as well. So earlier, another raid coming. Wait, another raid is incoming? But yeah, great to have you guys here. So let's say hello to all those in the chat. Drunk Simon, People, Tomville999 are here as well. Great to have you guys here. You gotta run. My friend has a graduation open house. Ooh, good. That's great to see, Sergeant Staff. No worries at all. Thank you so much for the raid, my friend. And I hope you and your friend have a good time at the open house for graduation. So hope you're having a good time. Oh yeah, and speaking of awesome friends in the community, I just saw Splasher6 show up here. So guys, if you don't know Splasher6, he's not only one of my mods, but he's an awesome flight sim streamer. Really cool dude as well. He's currently doing a couple of series, mainly his Long Way Down series. And, oh, hold on 1 second. Captain Rash and the Compass Club have also raided. Oh my gosh, a Rash is raiding here as well? Hello, Compass Club. How have you guys been doing today? I hope you had a great time in that Black Square King Air. That is a very cool plane in the sim. So here's let me finish my shout with Splasher6 for just a sec. Awesome friend. He's done the Long Way Down series. He's also doing a World War II series as well for Splasher6 channel. And in fact, he's going to be doing one today. So definitely check out his channel. And of course, Captain Rash is here. Thank you so much, Compass Club. So today we're doing the DC-3 around the world trip here in Cold Bay. We're heading towards Anchorage, which is Alaska's largest city. Let me show you where we're going to be going. Hello there, Kenny, the rocket scientist. First time check, great to see you. You hope that Black Square redoes more than the default planes. I do kind of agree with you. Like, I don't really get it myself, but I know a lot of people like these planes. Oh, you had a bunch of fun. Nice, Captain Rash. That's awesome to hear. So we took off from Cole Bay, Alaska. We were going northeast. We went through quite a few mountains, and now we're heading to the mainland. We'll be flying over Katmai Park and Game Range, and across the Cook Inlet. So we'll be seeing a little bit of Lake Clark to our left, and we go across all the terrain into Ted Stevens International here in Anchorage. So this is Lake 32 of our journey, everyone. If you guys are new to here, I've been doing this series since New Year's Day this year. We started back in Geneva, and we went across from France, Croatia, Greece, Israel, Jordan, across Saudi Arabia to Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, India, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines, Macau, Taiwan, Japan, and now we're here in Alaska. We still got a long ways to go here. The system deaths and failures is a big draw towards them, for me anyway. Final consequence if you do things improperly, or push the engines. Exactly. That's why a lot of people like the Black Square planes. But it's definitely very cool to see those in the simulator for sure. And Iowa Scotsman, good to see you, Iowa Scotsman. I hope you're doing well. So yes, we are actually flying a real DC-3. I have a book right here. This is the legendary DC-3. Here. But this is actually a real book written by the pilot, the one who organized the whole trip, Francisco Gullo. He did this. But the DC-3 we're flying here is actually the one they took for the trip, right here. Yes, the real livery and everything. But this DC-3 has an interesting history, actually. This DC-3 actually came to existence back in the 1940s. As flagship Cleveland back in the 40s. Then it joined World War II from 1942 to 1944 for World War II, and then after the war, it was purchased by Trans-Texas Airways, which lasted until 1971, where it became part of Provincetown Boston Airlines, and it lasted until the 1990s. Went through a couple of overhauls, and then it was purchased by Francisco Gullo back in 2009. And he wore the Breitling livery since, and they did this around the world in 2017. It took them 7 months to do this trip, and they flew over a lot of different areas. But like I said, the most difficult one, we actually did that a couple weeks ago from Japan to Alaska. That was 1,400 nautical miles in a DC-3. It was just insane. Right now, after the journey ended, the DC-3 here was actually then purchased in Turkey, and it currently resides in the MO Museum, located in Turkey. More specifically, if I remember correctly, I believe the museum is actually located in just outside of Eskişehir, which is just right outside of that part of Turkey. So maybe for one of my last flights, I would probably take this DC-3 out for one last trip into Turkey for you guys. So definitely very, very cool plane. It definitely has a rich history as well. But yeah, when they did this around the world, the DC-3 was 77 years old, making this the oldest plane to have ever flown around the world. Hey, Wrong Dre with the follow. Thank you so much, my friend, for the follow. So, a little bit about myself. I've streamed here since 2021. I've done plenty of other Microsoft Flight Sim series. My first series I've ever done here on Twitch is my baseball series, Play Ball, which I visited all 30 major league teams, plus Montreal for the Expos. But we took GA planes all across the United States, and we visited all the stadiums and stuff. I still have VODs for it, by the way, guys. They should be found right in my YouTube channel, which are right here in the command. Exclamation point YT. So I have my VOD still there. Then I've done plenty of other series. I did a historical recreation flight before this one. The 1926 Berlin-Beijing trip from Tempelhof to Beijing in the Younker's G52. That was definitely a really cool series to fly into the heartland of Russia. A very, very cool series. I've also done multiple Firefly air trips, including Japan, the Philippines, and Norway as well. So I've done plenty of Flight Sim series here on Twitch, but this right here is my most ambitious series I've done so far, taking a DC-3 around the world. Pretty crazy. And mind you, we're just late 32. We still have to get over to the continental United States and cross the Atlantic back into Europe. So it's pretty crazy, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend as well. Having a great weekend and everyone's enjoying the weekend. For me, at least, I'm definitely enjoying my time being around you guys. It's been great having you all here. So there's that as well. I got the Transall on Thursday, so I will be showing off to you guys on Wednesday the C-160 Transall. I'm probably going to do one of the ad hoc missions for the VA. I'll show you guys how it works and how it is, but I'm planning on doing some sort of cargo mission in the C-160, transporting some stuff over to a certain area in the Transall. It would definitely be a really fun trip. So that would be a bunch of fun as well. But yeah, I put up a slideshow. I've actually pulled out some slideshow information about stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit more about it. If you guys have been new to my channel, I prepare these slideshows every single major jury streams. I put slides for each of you guys to learn about all the places we fly. And this has been part of my channel since the very beginning. I've always created slideshows with information about everywhere we fly. I used to do it for nearly every stream, but I decided to only do those for the major streams. That way, I don't have to do nearly as much of it, but I still be more happy to provide information to all of you guys. And our slides for today is about Alaskan history. All about Alaska, the 40 United States. So Alaska is kind of rich in cultural traditions. Some of the most popular events here in Alaska include the famous Iditarod Trail sled dog race, which starts from Anchorage to Nome. The World Ice Art Championships in Fairbanks, the Blueberry Festival and the Alaska Hummingbird Festival in Ketchikan, the Sitka Whale Fest, and other more events. In addition to this as well, you can also find the Alaska Native Heritage Center, located in Anchorage, which celebrates the rich heritage of the 11 different cultural groups here in Alaska. And their purpose is to encourage cross-cultural exchanges between the native peoples of Alaska. And you see, Alaska has a lot of native population still remaining here in Alaska. So, which is very, very cool. And it has the different 11 culture groups, the all that. For guys who don't know anything about the Iditarod, the Iditarod race actually has a pretty interesting history, in fact. While the modern event did start back in 1973, the sled dog sort of stuff were actually used for hundreds of years by the native tribes. But it reached its peak during the 1880s to late mid-1920s as miners dig coal and all that, and the dogs were used to transport and communicate with the rest of the world during that time, mainly in the winter. And dog mushing became popular as a sport as well. But with its most famous event being the 1925 Serum to Nome, known as the Great Race of Murphy, due to the large diphtheria epidemic at the time. So that was a very cool event as well. But Iditarod was is still very popular and still a majorly important event as it traveled through the inland, passed through many different routes, and passes through the different routes to Nome, Alaska. Very, very important. So Alaska definitely has a rich culture. And then when you talk about music, Alaska's culture music is much of it includes the tradition of music of the natives, as well as folk music brought by later immigrants from Russia and Europe. Some prominent musicians from Alaska include the singer Jewel, who's received 4 Grammy nominations, traditional flautist Mary Youngblood, known for her flute, folk singer and songwriter Libby Roderick, and Christian music songwriter Lincoln Brewster. And of course, there's also many different musical festivals in Alaska: the Alaska Folk Festival, Fairbanks Summer Arts Festival, and the Sitka Summer Music Festival. And of course, Alaska's also been on film and television, mainly the 1983 Disney movie Never Cry Wolf was partially shot in Alaska. But there are actually many different reality shows filmed here in Alaska. But there's also tons of television films filmed in Alaska. A lot of you guys probably know the show The Deadliest Catch, right? Well, that was filmed back in Dutch Harbor, Alaska. And they actually did much of their filming there. This is where they did much of their film as well. But there's all sorts of films that were filmed in Alaska. But there's all sorts of films here as well. Definitely a pretty wide range of that. And then we get to the public health and safety of Alaska. The main police force are the Alaska State Troopers with a long and storied history. But before law enforcement was legally organized, law enforcement in Alaska was actually handled by federal agencies. While some larger towns have their own police, but the troopers mainly serve as the only police, and in addition to enforcing traffic and criminal law, wildlife troopers also enforce hunting and fishing regulations. And due to their varied terrain, they actually are employed to handle a large variety of different vehicles, both land, air, and sea. However, one of the things about Alaska to worry about is domestic abuse. There are very high levels of domestic abuse and other violent crimes in the state. In fact, Alaska has the highest rate of sexual assault in the nation, especially in the rural areas. So that is definitely something to keep in mind while visiting Alaska. And then education-wise, the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development administers many school districts here in Alaska. It also operates its own boarding school, Mount Edgecombe High School in Sitka. There's also more than a dozen colleges at the University of Alaska, And some accredited universities include the University of Alaska Anchorage, University of Alaska Fairbanks, and University of Alaska Southeast. However, interestingly, Alaska is the only university state in the country to have no collegiate athletic programs as part of Division I. Though Alaska Fairbanks and Anchorage maintain Division I ice hockey. However, Alaska's big issue has been the brain drain issue, as many of its young people leave the state after high school and don't return. And as of 2013, Alaska didn't even have a law or medical school as a result. So that is definitely an issue facing Alaska. Right. But, oh my goodness, look at this, guys. Take a look at the window. So this is Katmai National Park and Preserve. Oh my goodness, that is very pretty. Oh, that is very, very pretty, guys. And guys, turn the camera for it. Oh, look at the state of this, guys. And you wonder why Alaska is such a pretty state. Guys, I mean, oh, Alaska. What an absolute gem of a state. It is absolutely gorgeous right now in Alaska. Absolutely stunning. Just incredible. Who knew? If you guys like what you see here and haven't followed the channel, I'm currently trying to hit a goal of 700 followers. So, if you haven't followed the channel, now would be a good time to do so. To help support the channel even further. But yeah, absolutely stunning here today in Alaska. It is beautiful. But yeah, I'm also planning on my own around the world trip at some point soon. After this one, I think the next one I'm planning on doing for the next stream series is actually going to be an around the world trip similar to this one. But instead of doing like the traditional route around the world, my next series planning is going to be for Firefly Air. I'm hoping to do Firefly Air around the world trip, visiting all our hubs, which includes Dublin, Bristol, Lake Tahoe, Rio, Quito, and Sydney. I'm hoping we get more hubs soon because I definitely want to visit more locations, but I want to do another Firefly Air around the world trip. But it will be mainly involving the airliners. But my plan is to visit all countries in the sim. With airliners, GA, everything. We'll be visiting everywhere. It'll be my own flight. Who knows? The 757 could arrive by this time this one ends. Yeah, it might arrive, and not me. Yeah, the 75 might be the plane I take for most of the trip. I mean, for the longer legs, I definitely take the 75. Short ones, I'll be taking GA, but it's mainly going to be around the world revisiting Africa. Exactly there. I'm thinking the 7.5 comes out around the time the ends. If you guys don't know about it, I'm a huge. The 7.5 is the airliner I'm waiting for this in the most. It's just the 7.5 is just is my favorite bone in real life to see for sure. So my plans for the rest of the day is after this flight, I got some achievements for Firefly Air to be doing today, later on. But man, this is absolutely gorgeous. This part of Alaska. I mean, Alaska is very beautiful. I wish the Sally Day is a little better in Alaska, but I mean, it's still stunning. Absolutely beautiful place. So hmm, yeah, definitely a very, very exciting thing to do here. Um, so if you guys are interested in what I'm doing next week would be C-160 Transall will make our way over across Ireland to somewhere in Europe for our military operation mission. On next Friday is going to be we'll probably be doing a GA flight. I'm probably likely heading back to either the United States or I might be able to go to South America. I think the next GA is going to be in South America, and we'll be doing some flights around Brazil from Rio to Sao Paulo. But I'll be taking GA planes as well, which should definitely be really, really cool areas to fly. But we'll be flying over that area as well to the coast. So that would definitely be what I'm going to plan on doing next Friday. And then next Sunday, we'll be back in the DC-3 in Anchorage. We'll make our way southeast to the state capital of Alaska, in Juneau. So it should definitely be a very fun trip for you guys for sure. So yeah. So yeah, I hope you guys. I'm happy that you guys are doing well for the trip. I'm very, very excited to be here with everyone here. Like I said, it's great to be back into the DC-3 journey. This was my number one trip I wanted to do for this year. I've always wanted to do a around the world trip. Allison Johnson, I know she's not here right now, but but I wanted to do an around the world trip because Allison Johnson has done more than a few of these trips. Here's a shout out for her channel. But I'm giving her a shout out because she helped me inspire for this trip, or an around the world trip. She's done the Amelia Earhart trip twice on her streams, flying from Amelia Earhart. And this was the main inspiration I wanted to do an around the world trip on my channel. So check out her streams. I know she didn't stream yesterday, unfortunately. She didn't feel too well, but this time she's streaming the Geraldine Mock around the world trip in the Cessna 182, and she's been doing some absolutely insanely long flights. She's already flown from Columbus, Ohio, and she's already made it in Algeria. Right? She had to fly to Bermuda from Columbus, then from Columbus to the Azores, to Santa Maria, and then she crossed over the Atlantic again to Morocco. And that around the world flight, she's had some insanely long flights. And that's not even, and those are not even going to be the longest flight in her journey. The flight across the Pacific is going to be some of the longest streams she's got. Like, it's crazy about her journeys. But Allison makes some wonderful streams. And of course, I'm also going to give Two-Tone Murphy the shout out, and I mean, he's probably my biggest inspiration for streaming in the first place. I know Murph's lurking in the chat, but I'm going to give him a shout out because I wouldn't be streaming today if it wasn't for Murph and his community, so, which is more than fair. So here's a shout out for Murph. But yeah, we are around we're just about under 200 nautical miles. Let's go over a few more slides right now. You're probably far. Oh yeah, Candonians are also in Alaska. Speaking of this, I might be heading up Candu for the raid because he's already in Alaska, all right. So I might head to him potentially, but we'll wait and see. So let's go over a few more slides about Alaska, shall we? So in Alaska is transportation. Now, in Alaska, transportation is actually a very important part of Alaska. In Alaska, with its geographic area and small population, means that transportation in Alaska is actually different compared to other states in the United States and provides its own unique challenges. With all the geographic differences in the country, in its climate as well, this means no single transportation strategy works in Alaska compared to many other places around the United States. And that means there are many different ways that people can transport through Alaska. Mainly, roads are only there to connect between the south central populations of Fairbanks and the Canadian border. But many communities around the coast rely on barges and ferry systems to support many communities in the coast and rivers. Of course, there's also railroads, and they connect the ports of Seward, Whittier, and Anchorage to the interior of Fairbanks. But most importantly, the critical connection between the various regions of Alaska has been the air. Air travel is super important in Alaska. And trust me, with how large Alaska is and how remote it all is, air travel is extremely important for the state of Alaska. So that's basically where the overview. So in terms of roads, well, because Alaska's climate and geography are unique challenges, there are a lot of challenges to build and maintain roads in Alaska. The various mountain ranges, permafrost, long distance between small population centers, and the cost of transport materials all add to the cost and challenges of Alaska's road system. Many of the northern highways have tighter weight restrictions during spring due to axle load limits due to the soft ground that is Alaska. And as a result, Alaska is the least connected U.S. state in terms of road transportation, as the road system covers a relatively small area of the state, including the linking of the central population systems via the Alaska Highway, the principal route out of the state through Canada. In fact, an interesting part, the capital of Alaska, Juneau, is not even accessible by road, which is actually, that has been such an issue that there have actually been spurred several debates whether to move the capital to a city on the road system. But one of the unique things about the road system is the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel, which links Seward to the relatively isolated community of Whittier. And the title held the title of the longest road tunnel in North America, which lasted until Interstate 93, turned to the Big Dig project. There's also quite a few winter trails as well, which are laid by the indigenous people as well. But yeah, the road system has quite a bit of challenges. But one that at least has more use is the railroad system. The Alaska Railroad itself runs between Seaward to Anchorage, Denali, and Fairbanks to the North Pole. And the Alaska Railroad has been around since the 1980s, but it carries both freight and passengers. Though during the summer they run only passenger service to accommodate tourists. But the railroad plays a pretty vital role in transporting Alaska's natural resources to ports in Anchorage, Whittier, and Seaward. In 2015, the railroad carried more than 4.3 million tons of freight and brings goods from the Tidewater to the interior city of Fairbanks and more. And the railroad can carry around 500,000 passengers per year, and most passengers use it for recreation use in the summer. So it basically goes from Seaward all the way up through Whittier, Anchorage, and all the way across even Denali itself. There's also other railroad systems. The White Pass railroad system. I've been on the White Pass, actually. It's a very neat railroad in Alaska, established in 1898 in Skagway and Whitehorse. It was actually built for the Klondike Gold Rush. But it was very important to transport copper, silver, and lead in Skagway. But it became very popular for a lot of tourists, traveled to Lake Bennett and back, and it carried around 401,000 people. And if you guys weren't aware, I actually been on the White Pass. Definitely has some very scenic views of the Yukon. And finally, the idea. Now there have been an idea to connect Alaska and Canada through the railway, but it would have cost around $11 billion to build. As well, I'm hoping someday they can build a rail connection between Alaska and Canada, which would be really nice for both areas. Then the next thing is the second most important way of transportation in Alaska is the marine transport. That's because many villages and cities are connected only by sea and air, mainly Anchorage, but there are plenty of other cities around it, like South Central Alaska and Southeast Alaska rely on the Alaska Marine Highway, which is a well-developed ferry system that travels through both passengers and goods moved throughout the ferries. As a result, in fact, cruise ships actually use the Alaska Marine Highway for tourism, and it's a very popular way for a lot of tourists to see Alaska. But bar none, the most important transportation in Alaska is air. Is the air, and for good reason. That's because in Alaska, due to all the environment and terrain and all that, it's not really easy to transport things on the surface. But air travel is almost an essential part of Alaska. In fact, the airplane, when it brought to Alaska, completely changed the state. It really did. Now, the state owns in the majority of airports and states, but private air carriers are very essential for air service. And Alaska has several regional hubs, like Bethel, Nome, Punxsutawney, and Dillingham. All of them receive regular service with large aircraft, and base for smaller planes to serve the various communities in the region. Other commercial flights include regional airlines like Robin Alaska, Penn Air, and Frontier Flying Service. While smaller towns and villages rely on chartered bush services using GA planes like the Cessna Caravan. And aircraft are almost extensively used for freight and for passenger. In fact, Alaska Airlines is still the only U.S. major carrier airline to actually have a fleet of dedicated cargo planes, just for that purpose, to transport goods into Alaska. But, in fact, air travel is actually the cheapest and most efficient transportation both in and out of Alaska, which is pretty crazy to think about. Is that Alaska is aviation central, but bar none, the most quintessential Alaskan plane is the Bush seaplane. In fact, you can find the world's busiest seaplane base in Lake Hood, right next to Ted Stevens International, where it finds bound remote villages with an airstrip where they carry passengers, cargo, and abundance of items all across Alaska. In addition to this, Alaska has the highest number of pilots per capita in the U.S. states. Out of an estimated 663,000 pilots, 8,000 of them are pilots, which is 1 in every 78 people in Alaska are pilots, which is insane. Pretty cool stuff. And finally, for the last bit of transportation, there's the dog sled, which has historically been in older days. Dog mushing and all that was very important for much of the more remote communities, which was the Iditarod sled race, for example. Showed the dog sled was important. It's still an important Alaska tradition for sure. Also, ATVs and snowmobiles are still very common in terms of transportation. And you wouldn't believe this, but Alaska actually has the highest percentage of people whose method of work is walking. Yes, a lot of people actually walk to work in Alaska because there's just not a lot of stuff to connect the city to the rest of Alaska. So yeah, that's just a bit about the transportation of Alaska. So yeah, it shows that Alaska, transportation-wise, is extremely varied and very, very unique. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the notes I did. So I carried a lot of the notes and information. Yeah, that's just a little bit about Alaska. Let's check our fuel situation. I have not checked out our fuel. Okay, 37%. So we have about 37% on the tank. So we're doing pretty good. So our fuel situation is looking very, very good. So yeah, our center is Augustine Islands right here, and to our left is we should get near Lake Clark National Reserve. Let's see who's flying with us. Absolutely beautiful. So, But yeah, so, but yeah, I hope you guys learned something a little bit about Alaska and everything. There's still a bit more information about Alaska as well, but definitely want to enjoy the beautiful scenery of this amazing state. Um, like I said, I cannot wait to visit Alaska again next year. Mainly we're still gonna stay in the southeast part of Alaska, but definitely want to check out more. But yeah, very, very nice. But yeah, to our right is good. Right to our left is Lake Clark National Park. Is to our northwest. So Lake Clark National Park is about. It was actually proclaimed as a national monument in 1978. Um, but it became a national park in 1980. Um, in fact, this park includes many streams that are vital to the Bristol Bay salmon fishery, including the namesake Lake Clark. The national park is known for having a wide variety of recreational activities year-round, as well as the park protecting the various rainforests across the Cook Inlet, alpine tundra, glaciers, lakes, and even two volcanoes, Mount Redoubt and Mount Iliamna, which is around 10,000 feet. With the wide variety of ecosystems in the park, meaning you can find virtually all the major Alaskan animals around the national park, including salmon, large populations of brown bears, and more. Make their home here in Lake Clark. But you can find all sorts of other animals too. Other animals you can find here include the bald eagle, Dall sheep, goose, peregrine falcon, and the timber wolf. while smaller mammals include the coyote, marten, Arctic fox, wolverine, river otter, beaver, and Canada lynx. And marine mammals like the sea lion, harbor seal, the porpoise, and beluga can all find their homes here in the national park. Screaming volcano? Yeah, there's a volcano around this area. Yeah, there is a volcano. Mount Iliama is actually the volcano mentioned. So yeah, there is volcanoes around this area too. To our right, it's way in the distance, but we can actually see a little bit of Kenai Fjords National Park. Now we'll be flying over this area next Sunday. We'll be flying over Kenai Fjords National Park. So we'll take a look at the beautiful fjords there. But definitely, but this part of Alaska is just stunning, and we're almost there. So, yeah. Yeah, there are recordings of it. Yeah, Uluma makes some screaming sounds for sure. Yeah, it's a volcano that screams. But no, Alaska actually, of all the American states, it's Alaska and Hawaii have the most volcanoes, which makes sense. I mean, most of Alaska's volcanoes are not here, but they're mainly all the way in the Aleutians, is where you can find most of Alaska's most volatile volcanoes. Up there in Alaska. But probably sound of a volcano when it makes a heartburn. Good one. Good one, Drunken Cinnamon. Good one. That's very, very good. but very, very beautiful. So now we're gonna get right. We're about 136 nautical miles. So let me go ahead and talk about some information about Alaska. Some interesting fun facts about the 49th state in the Union. Well, so here's some pretty cool fun facts. Number one is that Alaska is home to 17 of North America's tallest mountains. And of the 20 highest peaks of the US, 17 are in Alaska. Yes, Alaska has some of North America's tallest peaks. But mainly the big one is Denali. Denali is the highest peak in all of North America, at over 20,000 feet. And that's located around Fairbanks, which is in its own national park. It used to be formerly known. Its former official name is Mount McKinley, actually, named after presidential candidate William McKinley at the time. And that lasted until 2015. But Denali is a very tall peak and one of the most stunning areas in all of Alaska. It's an incredible mountain as well, and it features but it's a beautiful area to visit here, but there are tons of other really insane peaks in Alaska. In fact, you could even take flight tours around Denali Park, including flight seeing tours. You could take actually flights up to Denali, which is insane. But there are plenty of other tall peaks in this part of Alaska, and some of them include the second highest peak in Alaska, Mount St. Elias, which is actually the second highest mountain in Canada and the U.S. Mount Foraker, also part of Denali National Park, at 17,400 feet. Mount Bona and Mount Blackbird are the rest of the top 5 tallest, highest summits in all of Alaska. For a lot of people. Number 2 fun fact: Alaska actually means the Great Land, and this comes from the Aleut word Alaska, which is called the Great Land. Which, trust me, that name is very much earned in Alaska for sure. The Great Land is definitely an earned name. The name Alaska actually was introduced in the Russian colonial period when it was used to refer to the southeast part of Alaska, the southwest part of Alaska, but it was derived from the Aleut language idiom Alaska, or mainly the mainland, or more literally, the object towards which the action of the sea is directed, called Alaska. Pretty cool. The next fact is that Alaska has the lowest population density in the United States. For example, if Manhattan had the same population density as Alaska and New York, the city of Manhattan in New York City would only have 16 people. Yes. Which is insane. Only 16 people would have lived in Manhattan if it had the same population density as Alaska. Which, to put into perspective, Manhattan is the most densely populated borough in New York City, and its population is around 1.69 million people. There would be so if it had the population density of Alaska, only 16 people would be there. And some conditions you can see as far as 268 miles. Gotcha. Yeah, Denali is very tall. The next one is an interesting fact about salmon. The largest salmon ever caught was actually located in the Kenai River, and it weighed in at a whopping 97 pounds and 4 ounces. A 97-pound salmon Now, traditionally, salmon, actually, a normal healthy salmon can actually more than likely, for the, most Alaska eats sockeye salmon, and most of those weigh around 17 pounds. So that is a very big fish. Oh yeah. Actually, let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah, this thing. Yeah, it's this bad boy right here. That is the picture that they caught the 97-pound salmon. It was caught in 1980. It was caught in 1985. And it weighed 97 pounds, 4 ounces. And here's the funny thing about salmon too. That's not even the biggest ones. But salmons are actually very unique. But the salmons are a very important species for the rivers as a result. Kenai River. But it was a mass. Chinooks. Yeah. I don't have it, but yeah, monster salmon. It's huge. How much is that in non-freedom units? 44 kilograms. Yeah, it's a big A salmon. They mainly weigh 3 to 30 pounds, but a 97-pound salmon is pretty big. But no, fishing's a major part of Alaska traditional heritage, so it's not really a surprise. And finally, the last fact about Alaska is the Northern Lights. They can be seen all throughout Alaska, but mainly around Fairbanks. And you can see the Northern Lights at around 240 days, 3 days a year. Pretty crazy. Oh, look at that, a raid from Not BXML. Good to see you guys. Welcome on in, everyone. We're about to make our way over to Anchorage, actually. We're doing the 2017 DC-3 Around the World trip. I hope you're doing well today, my friend. So guys, if you guys are here for the first time, my name is ViperStrike95. I've been streaming on Twitch since 2021. This is Flight 32 of my DC-3 Around the World trip. We start back in New Year's Day in Geneva, Switzerland. Good to see your comment here, Jacob, for the fall, but we're making our way over to Anchorage. We started in Geneva. We crossed over the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and even across the Pacific to Alaska. We had a great time. Thank you so much for the follows, guys. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, great to have you guys here. I hope you had a fantastic stream. I wonder what you did for today for your flights. But yeah, we're flying an actual DC-3. In real life, this DC-3 was 77 years old when this went around the world. Which is an insane feat for a DC-3 for sure. Oh, you did. Oh, you control. Oh, you control. Nairobi. That's what you did. You controlled Nairobi approach. And you have 4 people with emergencies. Ah, cool. That sounds really nice, my friend. Yeah, really, really cool. So, for you guys who are not aware, Hotel Kilo Julia Kilo is yeah, KL for Jomo Kenyatta International in Nairobi, Kenya. I've actually flown that part of Kenya before. Uh, Not BXNO. I've flown in Nairobi itself. It's definitely a very cool area as well. Kenya and much of Africa is very, very cool. I think I did that for a trip through Mount Kilimanjaro. But yes, if you have to get wrecked, that's fine. Yep. At least it did it virtually. In real life, that would be absolutely terrible if that were to happen in real life. Thankfully, it's only just virtual. Still, you shouldn't be having those emergencies. Batson in Africa is not a common sight. Oh, definitely. Absolutely agree. It's not a common sight. Like, most people, when they fly to Africa, in Batson, from what I know, is either they fly to Cape Town, Johannesburg, and maybe flights to either Cairo or Addis Ababa, which is Ethiopia's capital. Most people who ever fly Batson, from what I remember, is either of those areas. But not so much in Nairobi. Definitely very interesting. Hey, Avgi, Ethan, good to see you. Yeah, Nairobi's been ruined as some silly guy flew a Concorde. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Very, very crazy to hear. Some guy overran the airport. Hope that is absolutely crazy to hear. For sure. I mean, I know the Concorde might take a little while to land because it's. I mean, how do you run something in the Concorde that's the runway's 13,000 feet? Like, again, he probably landed a little late, but to overran a Concorde like that. And a guy crashed 737 twice into a few residential areas. Really? He came 300 knots? That is... Why would you go that fast in a Concorde when you land? Why? Yeah, that is a pretty good answer. You fly 300 knots? Yeah, of course you're going to overrun when you're over 300 knots. Yeah, of course you're going to crash with that. Like, no matter how long it is, you're going to crash with 300 knots. You went way too fast and overran the runway. Of course you did. Ugh. Yeah, he must have been used to kilometers per hour. In my defense, he was an emergency with no power. Ah, that's probably what it was. Yeah, that probably makes sense. Like, normally, like, 300 knots is far too quick. But I guess he had no power and he was gliding down. I guess he had no choice but to overran it. Gotcha. But yeah, speaking about this, getting back to the thing, I do these slideshows for all my Sunday streams because these are the longer journeys. So yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier, Anchorage with the Northern Lights can be seen up to 243 days a year in Anchorage, Alaska. That's because it's right near the Arctic Circle, so you see all the Northern Lights all across Fairbanks. But yeah, I did over 1,400 of these bad boys normally, so I had to trim down to quite a bit. But definitely very interesting. This part of Alaska is definitely absolutely stunning. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up a couple more slides. I've been working on these. Happy to. We're going to head to Anchorage, Alaska, everyone. So, Anchorage, what do we know about the city? Well, it's obviously Alaska's largest city with a population of 291,000 people, and as a result, it contains nearly 40% of Alaska's population lives here in Anchorage. The metropolitan area of Anchorage actually is 398,328 people, which is more than half the state's people live here. It's also the fourth largest city in the US by area, and it's even smaller than Rhode Island. Yes, this city is, in its metropolitan area, is larger than Rhode Island, which is the small state in the US, by the way. But, it's located at the terminus of the Cook Inlet on a peninsula formed by the Kinnick Arm to the north and the Turnagain Arm to the south. It was first settled as a tent city near the Ship Creek in 1915 when the Alaska Railroad began, but it soon grew rapidly over the 20th century as Alaska's largest port. But one of the cool things about Anchorage, Alaska, and what really sets it unique, is its location. Due to its geographically great location, it's equidistant from New York, Tokyo, and Frankfurt, Germany. This means Anchorage lies within 10 hours by air to nearly 90% of the industrialized world connects through Anchorage, which is pretty insane to think about for it. That's why because of it, Ted Stevens Anchorage International is a very common refueling stop for both cargo and passenger flights. And of course, Anchorage's largest sectors include transportation, military, municipal, state, federal government, and tourism. But yeah, Anchorage really, really grew. It also grew due to Elmendorf Air Base, which was in the 1940s. That grew a lot of people. And of course, oil and all that. But Anchorage, Alaska definitely is a very important part of Alaska currently. And there are definitely some really cool and interesting places to visit here in Alaska. Here's my Discord, by the way. If you guys are so keen on checking out my Discord. This is where I get all my streams and information come from this part. So here's some unique sites and landmarks you definitely want to check out in Anchorage. Number one, if you love learning about the native cultures of Alaska and the indigenous people, there's the Alaska Native Heritage Center. Definitely well worth it. Take part in cultural dances, games, and arts demonstrations with knowledgeable guides. And they do the 11 different native peoples that live all around the area, which makes it a very cool place to learn Alaska's rich indigenous heritage. In fact, speaking about indigenous heritage, Alaska is where you can find a lot of the indigenous culture still around, even to today. Then there's the coastal trail known as the Tony Nels Coastal Trail, which is a walking and biking trail that goes around the Anchorage shoreline. And you can actually find a lot of wild animals in other locations all across Anchorage, which is definitely a very, very cool area. Basically, you can step in from city to nature in a pretty short time. Then, of course, a bit further south, about an hour and 30 miles south, is Kenai Fjords National Park, which is absolutely worth visiting. If you love nature, great place to visit. You can find the Kenai Fjords, you can find ice fields, and of course, tons of animal species, particularly marine mammals, seals, whales, and dolphins make their homes in the fjords. And finally, the last is, of course, the Alaska Railroad, which stretches from 450 miles from seaward to Fairbanks, with a stop in Anchorage. And if you go on this railroad, you can reach all the way to Denali National Park and much, much more that can only be accessed by train. Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, that's a little bit about Anchorage, Alaska, everyone. Just a little bit about Anchorage. So guys, I think it's about time we finally drop down a bit. So I'm gonna drop down to 2,000 feet. Go ahead and so I'm gonna go ahead and trim down, and we're gonna reach 2,000 feet. So we're gonna final descend across part of Alaska. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying today's stream, everyone. Enjoying this flight. So, and I hope you guys enjoyed the new content and everything with the slides and stuff. I know I put a lot of work into those slides, and we'll just continue. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this as always. A massive thank you for all the people coming here today on the stream. I hope you guys are liking the content and enjoying this flight. As we descend down to near Anchorage, Alaska, we are just we are not far at all from Anchorage. We are very, very close to reaching it. So, I'm glad you're liking that, Drunk 7. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about the final slide. So we're gonna be stopping at Ted Stevens Anchorage International. So Ted Stevens International Airport is Alaska's largest and busiest airport. This airport has had a long history since the 1950s. It was built in the 1951. It was served in the 50s by Alaska Airlines, Northwest Orient Airlines or Northwest Airlines, Pacific Northern Airlines or Western Airlines later on, and Revolution Airways. And it can host all sorts of planes from DC-3s, which we're flying right now, to the Boeing 377 Stratliners. It was also a refueling stop for the Canadian Pacific Airlines for service to the Far East. And it was even used as a Air National Guard base. But by the mid-1980s, Ted Stevens International was known as its nickname was the Crossroads of the World, because you see, Anchorage was very important for as a common stopover for passengers between Europe and East Asia. Because at the time in the 1980s, airspace in China, the USSR, and Eastern Bloc countries were off limits. And since the first generation of jets and wide-body airliners didn't have the range to fly nonstop across the Pacific, many carriers used Anchorage for that purpose. For example, if you want to do a flight from Copenhagen to Tokyo, for example, back in the old days, you would actually fly from Copenhagen to Anchorage, Alaska first before flying to Tokyo. Japan Airlines did one from Seattle Seattle to Tokyo through Anchorage in the early 60s. And later did service through London, Paris, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, and all that. So Anchorage was used as a major stopover point for a lot of the flights back in the days. However, that changed with the 747-400 with the longer range. all those stopovers would start decreasing. But the big thing that really hurt Anchorage as a stopover point was when, during the end of the Cold War, the premier of the time, final leader of the USSR, Mikhail Gorbachev, when he did Glasnost, and he opened the Soviet airspace to flights, causing the decrease of stopovers. And by 1988, only 16 airline flights that had previously stopped in Anchorage flew non-stop over Siberia, which costed around almost $80,000 in revenue to the state. As a result, due to this, most scheduled passenger routes from Anchorage to Europe and Asia nearly ceased in the early 90s, though Korean Air did use to serve Anchorage 3 times a week until 2005, and eventually 2006. The last carrier to serve Anchorage on a regular basis, China Airlines, used it as an immediate stop until 2011. As a result, Anchorage, it wasn't that important for passenger stuff. However, it turned to another avenue to bring Alaska to prominence: cargo aircraft. You see, cargo planes became extremely important for Anchorage International, and as a result, Alaska Internationals became extremely important. And as a result, Anchorage International became a major cargo hub. In 2020, it was actually ranked as the second busiest airport in the U.S. in cargo traffic and the world's fourth busiest airport by cargo traffic, just behind Memphis, Hong Kong, and Shanghai as the biggest cargo airports. But it's bigger than both Incheon and Louisville International in terms of cargo traffic. But yeah, its location works wonders for cargo. Both FedEx and UPS operate major hubs here at Anchorage. Yeah, very, very important airport operate here for sure. The airport covers around 4,000 acres of land. It has 3 runways: 7 left, 25 right, 10,600 feet. 7 right, 25 left is 12,400, and 1533 is 10,865 feet. And currently, right now, there have been multiple flights serving from Alaska. Obviously, the largest and most busiest carrier is definitely Alaska Airlines, and they fly to not only destinations in Alaska, but also to other large cities like Chicago, Honolulu, Juneau, Las Vegas, LA, Phoenix, and Seattle. But other ones actually do seasonal flights up here, including American Airlines, Air Canada, and oddly enough, Condor and Eurowings Discover do it out of Frankfurt, Germany. Pretty cool stuff. But however, for cargo, nearly every single major cargo airliner does flights across Anchorage, including UPS, FedEx, DHL, Cathay Cargo, and more. All those fly out of Anchorage for cargo. Pretty cool stuff. So that is Ted Stevens International. So the next thing, right next to Ted Stevens, is actually Lake Hood Seaplane Base. Is Lake Hood, which is right next to it, basically. But yeah, this is Lake Hood Sea Base. ICAO Papa Alpha Lima Hotel is the Lake Hood Seaplane Base ICAO. But it is the world's busiest seaplane base on the planet. In fact, there's over 190 flights per day out of the seaplane base, and it's operating continuously and open to the public. Located on Lake Hood and Spinnard, right next to Ted Stevens International, and it has its own operational control tower. And during winter months, when this lake freezes, it can be used to maintain ski-equipped airplanes. There's also it has 4 runways. One of them is a gravel dirt strip, 1432, around 2,200 feet. Then it has 3 water runways. 10 W, 10 Whiskey, 28 Whiskey, 4,500 feet. 02 Whiskey, 20 Whiskey at 1,900 feet, and 14 Whiskey, 32 Whiskey is around 1,369 feet. But it mainly uses general aviation airplanes fly around Lake Hood, which is pretty cool. So if you're often a seaplane guy, you definitely want to check out Lake Hood, which is definitely a very important area for sure. So guys, in Anchorage today, we're going to land at runway. I think we're going to be landing on runway 07 right is where we're going to be landing today in Anchorage. Or actually we could also land at 07 left. So yeah, I think we can land in some of the other areas. Probably land away from the terminals and all that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be landing in those areas. But yeah, I've been really enjoying this flight today, guys. This has been a great stream as well. But yeah, very, very close to making our way back into Alaska. So thank you guys so much for coming along in today's stream. We are just about making our way over to Anchorage, Alaska. We are very, very close to heading our way over. So if you guys want to, let's go ahead and make some landing predictions now as we make our way over to make our landing predictions. Estimation point predict, type in a negative number, and we can go ahead and make our landing predictions for Anchorage, everyone. We're about to make our way over to Alaska's largest city. A massive thank you for everyone here as well. This has been an absolutely beautiful flight in Alaska today. So let's take a look at. Oh, there's Wolf 5001 in the Beaver. I don't think he can keep up with the DC-3. But man, isn't this part of Alaska just absolutely beautiful? yeah, and speaking of new airlines, um, so if you guys aren't aware, there's actually a new airline that's going to be based in Anchorage, Alaska. Actually, it's called Northern Pacific Airways. They're going to actually do their first flight in about the time FS Expo comes around. But their headquarters are going to be in Anchorage, and apparently they're actually going to fly the 757 actually here as well. But very, very cool. Drug Simming has to head out, unfortunately. Thank you so much, Drug and Simming, for joining with me today. I appreciate you hanging out in the chat. And I hope to see you all. I hope to see you again soon, my friend. Have a great rest of your Sunday, my friend. Take care and have a great day. But no, Northern Pacific Airways is actually it's going to start in June 23rd, 2023. Right now they're currently doing service between LA and Ontario due to not only due to the Ukraine war, but also delays in certification. So they're going to start flying from Las Vegas to Ontario, and their fleet is actually going to be Boeing 757-200s. They currently have 4 of them right now in service, but they're going to actually acquire 6 more of them. So they're going to actually fly the 757. Which is really, really cool to see that actually an airline. Oh, did you see Radia Air? Oh yeah, Radia Air. Oh yeah, Radia Air. Yes, Radia Air just. Yeah, I did see it. Let me get this thing loaded. Ah, yes, that is Radia Air is the new Saudi airline. Yes. There we go. Here it is, Radia Air. That is the new Saudi airline that's going to come to existence for Saudi Arabia. This is the new airline coming from Saudi Arabia. And it's Saudi Arabia's new airline. It's already been found. It's founded this year, March 12th, and it's planned to be the second flag carrier in Saudi Arabia. So it's supposed to be the second flag national carrier of Saudi Arabia, based off its capital of Riyadh. So now Saudi Arabia now has 2 flag carriers. So they're very, very interesting as well about the airline, for sure. But they did have a new livery for you. So they actually had a 787 livery. Here it is, Simple Flying. Actually, that's it. And here's their new livery. Well, I mean that purple livery. Oh my goodness, that's absolutely stunning. That livery. Look at this livery. Oh, that is striking. It's purple. It's a purple livery with white. It has multiple colors. The primary is lavender and blue, which is absolutely stunning as well with the white letters. Absolutely. That is a pretty livery. And apparently the first flight's going to come in 2025, but That is a very pretty livery. Oh, is lavender your favorite color there? Super Typhon. But yeah, that livery looks amazing. That is a stunning livery. Northern Pacific has their new 757 livery. And that looks really good too. Um, that livery looks really cool because their livery is white, but it also has black and gray in it. Similar to New Zealand Airlines, but it looks really, really nice. But yeah, I'm tempted actually for their 757, which would be really, really nice. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for when the 757 finally comes to the sim. Because, like I said, there's so many routes that I want to try out. I know. I'm hoping that I can use Northern Pacific Airways to do flights from Anchorage to Tokyo and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there are some absolute stunning. Oh, the purple. Yeah, the lavender is really cool color. Very, very. Like I said, there's some really cool airplane liveries out. I wonder if that Radia Air livery is already in the sim. Someone already made it, probably. If that's the case, when the AU update is there, maybe I can find that livery and put it onto. Oh, someone has already made it. Someone has already made the livery. Very, very pretty. So, yeah, we are very close to reaching Anchorage, Alaska. So, very, very close to our landing in Anchorage. Yeah, the thing I'm surprised with is that Anchorage never got photogrammetry, though. It's part of the United States. I know it's weird that Honolulu and Anchorage don't have photogrammetry for some reason. Despite the fact they're both pretty major cities. That's something I really don't get. Go ahead and power. Oh. And welcome to Anchorage, everyone. Beautiful landing. Beautiful. Found it. Make our way to Alaska, baby. Into Anchorage. So, I'm gonna look at my FS Hub thing and see what we did. It took 3 hours and 19 minutes of flying, guys. Very impressive. Yeah, very, very smooth flying. Yeah, beautiful landing here at Anchorage. I mean, look at there's the mountains, and then you have the beautiful Alaskan scenery. Hey, open the windows and brush that crisp air. Yep. Hey, good to see you. We fly daily. We just made it to Alaska, my friend. Into Anchorage. And that's it, everyone. We did it, everyone. We made it to Anchorage. Anchorage International, everyone. So that's it then, everyone. And this is the end of today's stream, guys. A massive thank you for everyone here to join us on this flight. We had 3 pretty awesome raids today from Sergeant Staff, Captain Rash, and Not BX and O. Thank you guys so much for the raids today, everyone. And man, what a fantastic way to end this journey today. So we'll be back on Wednesday afternoon at 1600 Zulu. We'll be taking the C-160 Transall across much of Europe. We'll be going out from Ireland. So I hope to see you guys then. So for the raid, I think we're gonna raid Okandu. He's in Alaska as we speak. I don't know where in Alaska he might end up, but he's in Alaska. So let's go ahead and set up the raid. Wait, before you go, I got something to show you. No worries. So let's go ahead and So, okay, guys, I hope to see you some point soon. So let's go ahead and get ready for the raid. And I hope to see you guys all on Wednesday. So take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your Sunday.